What's up and good morning, War Report family. Your man, Ike Jones. We are here. It is Friday, right before A-Day. We're going to give you some final thoughts on what we are thinking about spring. But really, today is all about you all right here on the Morning Drop. We want to hear what you have to say, your questions. We're going wall to wall with as many of those as we can before we get out of here. But man, it's time, A-Day weekend. Let's get straight into it. Y'all know how we do right here on the War Report. Let's drop it on them.
You are now listening to the War Report. Drop.
The morning drop right here, your guy Ike Jones, and we are finally to A-Day gonna get an opportunity to see what everybody has been cooking up during the spring in all position groups. Maybe get some answered questions. I don't know how many questions we're gonna get answered, man, but I'm looking forward to it. Rainy day and all. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm looking forward to it. But let me get my guy B Will in here, man. He's gonna come in and we're gonna talk a little bit spring ball. B Will, what's good, man?
What up, spring ball, baby?
Yeah,
That forecast ain't let up on us at all. It actually went up to 95%.
yeah, it's
But,
gonna definitely be raining. So just be prepared to be in the rain, man. I mean, it just is what it is. It's not gonna be long, according to the format that they put out just a couple of days ago on Twitter, or I think it was on Instagram as well, maybe on their Facebook. I haven't looked at the Facebook page, but 1 hour running clock. So you only have to be out there for like an hour and a half, depending on how early you get to the stadium.
which is
put your
again,
ponchos
like
on.
now I'm disappointed again.
that was gonna be my question. What do you feel about a 1 hour running clock? No quarters, nothing like that. Just an hour straight of hitting people and then getting off the field.
I have mixed feelings. I know people don't want to be in the rain forever. A-Day is a fan experience, and you're asking people to just be out there when it's heavy downpour. It's not like, hey, it's going to be some scattered showers. No, it's going to be big raining. So you don't want people exposed to that. I get it, but man, you wait to get a little glimpse of what we might be, not what we will be, because we know we're going to see an incomplete product.
Right.
But still, man, you want to see more than an hour?
Listen, I think an hour would have been fine if it weren't raining, because it's like you're just gonna really see a guy slipping and sliding around for an hour.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, listen, an hour is gonna go by in a heartbeat. It's gonna be interesting to see how it goes. The running clock, I think, is the thing that's probably a little bit more disappointing. Like
Right.
an hour of play time, where them being on the field, I think is fine, but I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. Gonna definitely be interesting, but it doesn't matter, man, because I'm gonna be there.
Yeah. Listen. Some football is better than no football.
There it is.
Every day of the week, even the rainy
right
days. So.
All right, so I put this out here on Twitter last night, and like I said in the opening, today we're really just about your questions. So go ahead and get your questions in the live chat about things that you want to hear. But I want to start with the stuff that was on Twitter, because those people followed directions last night and this morning to give me suggestions of things that they would like to hear about. So I am going to start with those. But if you have any additional ones, make sure you put those here in the chat. Let me find them. I had them queued up and then other stuff started happening. All right, so Ethan Lowry is the first one. He jumps in. He is tweeting at _Ethan Lowry, if you guys want to follow him on Twitter. But Ethan Lowry starts out with a couple of questions. So we'll go with question number one first. He says, where is Jeremiah Wright at in the O-line picture? Any thoughts on Jeremiah Wright and how he's progressed this spring so far, B. Will?
If I'm not mistaken, he was injured. Coming out of the regular season last year, he was injured. I don't know how much he's been participating because of that injury. So I'm not sure where Jeremiah Wright. Now he's been spoken about as a positive, in a positive way. And really that's all we have to go on is who are the coaches talking about? Who are their fellow players talking about? And Jeremiah Wright's been mentioned a couple of times. I expect, because of his experience and also his physicality, he will be at one of those guard spots. That's my expectation. I do not know that, but there's a lot. Again, we're not going to see much about this spring game that's going to directly carry over to the fall. I just think, and I'm making an assumption here, the competition is going to be open across all positions, but Jeremiah Wright, what we did see from him and what we do know about him, he's going to have a place at one of those guard spots on that line.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Jeremiah Wright is going to be a leader in that room. He does all of the things that you want to see your offensive lineman do as far as effort. And, if he can learn the system and execute, which, with it being a heavily based RPO system, assumptions heavily based RPO system, it's really just kind of run blocks with pass tags, right? Like you're not doing a bunch of exotic stuff from the offensive line standpoint. You just kind of have to understand responsibilities of who you're supposed to be blocking on, how the gaps are presented in front of you. But if you understand that fundamentally of, okay, I'm supposed to go block this guy, or we're supposed to slide in this direction, you just go do that with 100% effort. You should be able to acclimate yourself. And I say that because I don't think that we're going to be super complex in this system to start out. We're definitely not going to be tomorrow, but
right.
All right. Number 2 on the questions from Ethan Lowry was, is Robbie's arm injury the same lingering injury from the fall?
That's a good question. I mean, I don't think the coaches have not given a detailed analysis of his shoulder injury, just said that he's had a shoulder injury. We would have to check with people closer to Robbie. Mama Ashford shows up in the chat from time to time, and honestly, she'd probably be forthcoming if that's something that they want us to know. She would tell us, in the chat, because she's actually pretty cool like that. So I don't know. We have not asked. We just knew that it was a shoulder injury. It was bothering
it's the same
him.
shoulder. That's as much as I know is the same shoulder.
Right.
I don't know. I would assume it's the same issue, and it's just kind of been because again, to our understanding, he didn't have any surgery in the offseason, right? So it's probably more of a nagging injury than it is some secondary injury. Which of the two options, whether I would think the nagging would be the one that I would opt for, because a second injury to the same shoulder is a little that's a little scary. But yeah, still dealing with the same kind of situation, just re-aggravated. That's not, to me, as big a deal. But again, that's an assumption. I haven't asked Robbie that question. I don't know anybody on the personal training staff, and I haven't asked his mother that question specifically. So
yeah, it's scary. It's scary because that's the guy who I thought had, of the guys on the roster currently, that's the guy who I would want starting day one more than the others, just because, again, ceiling. Robbie's ceiling, after familiarity, after they figure out what they want to do with the playbook, rapport with the wide receivers, that's our highest ceiling, not accounting for whoever they might bring in from the transfer portal. So it's scary to think that your best option might have a busted wheel before you even get going. You can't play around with shoulders, man. They're weird. They're so weird. So much muscle that you can strengthen to kind of reinforce it. But if there's something inside that really just needs to be repaired, how do you know that unless you cut it in? Like, you could take all the MRIs and x-rays, but you'd be like, all right, you're good. Like, whatever diagnosis he got, they could have seen everything that they could see, said, no, you're good. You just need to rest and strengthen it. Okay, great. You rest, you strengthen it, and then it messes up again. So now you know, or you don't. Who knows? Maybe surgery has to be on the table. It's a question mark until it's completely fixed, until you get past whatever that injury is, you get into regular football activity, and it's not bothering you anymore. That's how you know. So, yeah, it's a big question mark. I just hope he's okay. I hope he's okay.
Yeah, I mean, he's been powering through some stuff for a while, but hopefully, to your point, B. Will, that he is just fine. Third question here. He had 4 of them, so we're powering through the Ethan Lowry questions here. Number 3 is, has anybody heard anything on the progression of Marquise Gilbert at safety?
Have not. I have not heard anything about Marquise Gilbert. I haven't heard much about the safety rotation, though.
Yeah, I would love to get an opportunity to talk to Zach Etheridge about how the safety room is progressing. We do, because they have split the back end where it is pause.
The hurried pause is what made it funnier than just the pause, or somebody else paused it. That was good. That's funny.
But because they have two different coaches in the secondary between the outside defensive backs and the safeties, we would get an opportunity to talk to someone who specifically would be working with Marquise Gilbert. So, yeah, I haven't heard anything specifically about him. I'm looking forward to seeing how he's progressing. He's a guy that came in with a lot of hype. Well, I was hype about more so because like, oh, he's the number one rated safety JUCO product coming up. Oh, he's got to be deep. We have become accustomed to at Auburn hearing JUCO product and thinking, okay, this is about to turn into something because we've gotten good JUCO products, right?
Right.
And so the number one safety out of JUCO, I'm thinking he's going to come in here and he's going to revolutionize our defense. Didn't see the field outside of special teams and random game action here and there, but nothing super meaningful as far as snaps for Marquise Gilbert last year that I can ever recall seeing on film.
Right. Exactly. And I think a lot of that's going to be a question mark because we had guys who showed very well. I think Simpson making the transition over to safety, man. Oh, wow. Okay. So he's going to be out there. I think Kaufman was very quietly when we started to do some losing in the middle, and we know we weren't a good team last year, but Donovan Kaufman missing made a difference, and Echo Leota missing made a difference.
Yeah.
I think we probably win another game just off the strength of them being there. Even with Harsin there, I think we win another game because those two were difference makers, and we were without them for a combined, 14, 15 games between each one of them. So, yeah. Who knows? Who knows what Marquise Gilbert is going to be? Haven't heard too much about any one safety jumping out, but I know those guys have a lot to juggle though, and that's the thing. The coaches have a lot to juggle with the secondary personnel because you got to keep guys happy and on the field. Because we know that in, I think, was it 4/15 is the opening date? The portal is open for business.
Yeah,
really quick in about a week after A-Day. So if people don't like what they get tomorrow, or they don't like how things went for them tomorrow, or they don't like the meetings after that, it's going to be open for business for some Auburn players too. So hopefully Marquise Gilbert gets his opportunity. That's all we want. Yeah. Give these kids the opportunity, not to say that you got to be the one starting because you came in here hyped. That's not how football goes. But we do want these guys to get the opportunity to show what they can do.
Absolutely. All right. Number 4 here for Ethan Lowry says, how have the 3 D-line / edge portal guys compared to the other ones already on the team? So we're talking about Justin Rogers, Nasili Kite, and Lawrence Johnson. And then we have Elijah McAllister. So you said 3, but there's 4 with that edge presence there for Elijah. How have they compared to the other ones already on the team? Any thoughts on this one?
I have seen coverage with the assistant coaches talking about some of those transfer guys for sure. I don't think there's any way to know what that rotation looks like because I still think that it's going to be really hard to move Marcus Harris and Jason Jones off of that line. I think it's going to be very difficult to supplant either one of those guys. So I'm sure everybody will get snaps. They'll rotate in and out. What A-Day looks like, again, we don't think that that's going to be a true reflection of what we expect to see 100% in the fall. I think Marcus Harris is going to be a starter, whether he is inside line or one of those ends that's opposite of the jack. I don't know if Jason Jones and Justin Rogers might be redundant as far as either one of their position. They can kind of play 1A, 1B, but maybe you want a big package. You want to put both of those guys in there. I don't know. I think at the very least, Justin Rogers is going to be one of the mainstays because we have heard very positive about him. And again, the coaches talking and the players talking is kind of what you got to go by in the spring. So in any of the other transfers, I have trouble saying for sure they're going to be on that line day one, or even one of the short rotation guys because we have not seen them. We haven't heard too much about any of them. I'm assuming Justin Rogers, Locke, or Jason Jones, either or Locke at those positions, at that position. Marcus
Harris would be the third guy that I put in there. Again, we're going to have a standard. It's going to be a 3-down lineman thing. I would say Justin Rogers, Jason Jones, Marcus Harris would be the standard 3. And then you're going to rotate in Jeffrey Imba, Nasili Kite, Lawrence Johnson, and then again, I'm super pumped about Aniche Sledge making some appearances. Zacavius Walker is still up there. It's going to be interesting to see what it is post spring. But to the question is comparably, I still think with the 3 spots that are there along the front, and then I'll talk about the jack position or the edge separately. But with the 3 spots along the front, the nose tackle, defensive end, I think 2 of those 3 will be fielded initially. If I were to project forward to the fall right now by 2 incumbent guys, Justin Rogers would be the 3rd guy that I think breaks into that. So I don't think Zacavius Walker, Aniche Sledge, or Jeffrey Imba will start in front of Justin Rogers.
Yeah.
So I think the primary 3 will be Marcus Harris, Jason Jones, Justin Rogers, from what I'm seeing or hearing right now. But then they're going to try to rotate. They do want a solid rotation up there in the front, so you will see those other guys get playing time and snaps. And I think it's going to be a frequent rotation. I don't think it's going to be like, well, you're going to get 5 snaps. It's more like they want to continually keep them fresh so that we have the run stability in the middle. When you get to the edge position, I don't know that we had any incumbent that was really flashing there. Of course, we've talked a lot about Dylan Brooks and his potential. And I think that he's made some strides this offseason. I do think that that's a 3-person race right now for snaps between Elijah McAllister, Dylan Brooks, who we just mentioned, and then the freshman Keldrick Falk. I think that the vast majority of snaps, if we were to project forward right now, would come from those 3 guys.
Yeah, I agree with that. I can see it. I can see that.
All right. So that is it for the, as our guy Corey Weber says, the Ethan Lowry show. We will get into more questions here from Twitter, but you guys make sure that you're sharing the video right now on whatever social media platform you prefer. Hashtag get your weight up when you do it. Make sure you add the War Report so that we know that you did that, because it just makes us feel good to know that y'all are paying attention and sharing our content. While we're getting into these questions, go ahead and like the video so that we feel the love when we go back and look after the stream. We're like, oh, we had 432 likes. I don't know that we've ever had 432 likes on a video, though we have more than 432 watches on just about every video. I want to, can we get to 500 likes on a video?
That would be cool.
500 likes. That would make me feel good. A-Day weekend, 500 likes on the A-Day preview video. Let's make that happen right now, War Report family. Let's do that. And then subscribe to the channel. Once you shared the video, subscribe to the channel if it's your first time coming in, or if you're 400th time coming to watch a video and you're just like, I don't know if I really want to subscribe to these guys. You're wrong. You do want to subscribe to these guys. Get your life right.
Man, don't be a hater, dog. Just go ahead and subscribe. You ain't even got to listen.
It don't cost no money.
It don't cost no money. If you don't want to get out all the notifications, just stop notifications. But at least subscribe. Know you connected to some greatness over here. Let's do it.
Yeah, throw the sub in there. All right, so back to the Twitter questions, and then we will get to the live chat questions after that. Twitter question number 5, but second person here. Matt Brown tweeting at I am an Auburn fan 1 says, I'm curious about how the linebackers are progressing. I kept saying last year was surprised to not see Eugene Asante at all. I'm wondering if it's looking like he'll get into the mix at all this season. Thoughts on this one, B. Will?
So while not having heard any mentions of Eugene Asante from the coaches about as far as praise goes, I have seen him when they put the football account puts out the videos of the team practicing and them answering questions and talking to the cameras. He's out there. He's participating. He looks like he's definitely getting along with his team. So he is here. Okay. So he's here and he's healthy because he's practicing.
Yep.
That's all we know about Eugene Asante. I have no idea why he did not see the field last year. From what we do know, injury was not the reason.
It was not the reason for sure. I've confirmed that on multiple occasions from multiple sources that he was not injured last year.
Right.
I've confirmed from multiple sources that it wasn't an issue of effort in practices. He was showing up and he was given effort. I've also confirmed that it looked as if he knew what he was doing out there. Just was not cracking the rotation. And I don't have a single answer for that subsequent question as to why.
Right.
So, considering what our linebacker play was last year, I don't know the why question on that one.
Yeah, when Cam Riley went down, I don't know how you don't throw the kitchen sink out there. Like, whatever we got, you tried. Let's try you. Because, I mean, what do you have to lose at that point, man? We were giving up getting gashed the way we were on the ground. Ole Miss and Arkansas, and any team who could remotely run the ball ran on us embarrassingly. So listen, I'm trying all our dudes so we can keep the same couple of players out there who do have more experience and they're getting gashed, and we lose big. What's the alternative? Put some new guys out there, and I don't know. Even if they aren't any better, at least now I know. Like now we don't have any idea what Eugene Asante could do. That could have answered some questions for him coming into this year as far as, all right, well, I did pick up the system. I was able to get out there, make some tackles. Oh man, this dude's a tackling machine. I don't feel like we know what we get again. The same thing with earlier when we were talking about Gilbert at safety. Give these guys a chance, man. Give them a chance. Put them on the field. And we had need, which is a good reason to put that guy on the field, and we did not do it.
Listen, no disrespect to him, but Barton Lester got burned before Eugene Asante did, and he's a walk-on kid that just earned a scholarship at the in the middle of the season.
Yeah.
How do you not? You guys recruited him from the transfer portal and brought him in.
Right.
This wasn't some holdover from the Gus regime.
Right.
This is you. You brought him in here. Why did you not play him when you had needed linebacker? That is one of the biggest mysteries for me from last season, is how Eugene Asante did not get playing time. I've also heard that he's played well during the spring, right?
Okay.
And he's picking up the system pretty well. He seems like a guy who's going to be where he's supposed to be. Mm-hmm. Get him some snaps, man.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the second year in a row we brought in the transfer everybody was at least interested in or hyped about, and we didn't see him not one time. Because in the 2021 season, it was the defensive back that came in from West Virginia. What was his name?
Oh gosh, yeah, I know exactly.
And everybody's like, "Where is he?" And he responded on Twitter. He was like, "I'm just being patient."
Drayshawn Miller is his name.
Drayshawn Miller, yes, yep. Drayshawn. Like I don't. That's puzzling. You bring again a guy in just to be a cheerleader on the bench. I don't know, man. That's I don't like that. I don't like that. So hopefully we get to see him. Like hopefully he gets his opportunity. That's what I'm asking for. And these are some rough circumstances. Go out here and tackle a slippery running back while it's raining. But
yeah,
this is your shot. So, I mean, in addition to what you got in the spring, the coaches are watching you. Everything's recorded and taped. Go out there and do the best you can with the opportunity you get.
Yep, absolutely. All right, let's move forward here. I believe this is our last one from Twitter. Let me just make sure before I All right, so yeah, last one here is from Subvet for Liberty, tweeting at Subvet for Liberty, and says, if you had to project, oh, this is an interesting one. If you had to project 5 players who will transfer elsewhere to have an opportunity to play, who would they be? I don't want to talk badly about anyone, but some people will need to look elsewhere. This is an interesting question. 5 players who could potentially transfer.
All right.
Woo. All right. Y'all buckle up for this one.
All right. This is in no way, this is not disrespect to these players at all. Anybody who chose to come here, I am glad that they chose us. Again, I want everybody to get an opportunity, but we know that in football, there's a limited number of positions. There's a limited number of snaps to be taken, especially at certain positions. I think the 5 most likely transfer, number 1, I'm looking at Tavares Dawson.
Okay.
And it's mostly because his size and skill set are duplicated by Javarius Johnson. But Javarius Johnson is probably still the best is the most sure thing at receiver that we've had in the last 2 years. When the ball gets thrown, he gets open. And when the ball's thrown his way, he catches it. His size is the only thing that I think keeps him from being a bigger deal. But if you're Tavares Dawson, you have very similar size. You have similar speed and agility, except a couple times where you got a shot, you dropped the ball. That's not how are you going to leap the most consistent receiver that we have had on the roster? And in a room of receivers where Javarius Johnson might not even be the most heralded receiver anymore. He's the most accomplished to this point, but he might not even be the one that's flashing the hardest. Camden Brown's coming on, Jay Fair's coming on, guys with more size, more strength. I think Tavares Dawson is probably looking at 3rd at the slot. And I don't think there's any reason to stick around 3rd at the slot when you do have Tavares Dawson skill set. When you have his skill set, you go, okay, I can go to a lot of schools, be in their slot and make their team better. And he's going to get some calls. All right. He's going to get some calls after the spring. Well, that's tampering, isn't it? interest will be generated. He will generate some interest, I think, because of what I think he can do. Now, whether he's as sure a catcher as Javarius Johnson, I have no idea. I know Javarius. I say Javarius because it's Javaris because they call him Var, so I think his name's Javaris.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to jump Javarius Johnson. You're not. So it makes the most sense to go ahead and get into the portal and see where else you can go, where you can get on the field and be productive. Listen, man, you can go to a group of 5. You can go to a Memphis, heck, a UCF, where they need speed, where they need sure things in their slot position. Go do that, because here we a bit of an overhaul at wide receiver, and there's a guy directly in front of you that has a lot to prove before he's out of eligibility and wants to go to the league. I think he's one to make a leap. So you give me one, and then I'll be thinking about my next one.
Okay. Yeah, I actually don't disagree with Dawson as a take. This one's going to hurt some people's feelings, but I'm going to say it anyway. I think there's a possibility, as much as he loves Auburn, that Landon King might hit the transfer portal after the spring, man. I don't know. And I get every people are probably shouting at their phones and computers right there. There's no way Landon King. I don't know that he's going to jump anybody in the room in front of him. They're talking about possibly rotating 8 receivers. Camden Brown, Amari Kelly, Jay Fair, Javarius Johnson, who have I not mentioned? Nick Mardner are all probably ahead of him in that race for the top 5. He might crack that next 3, but I don't know the answer to that, because I do know for a fact they want more speed, and Landon King doesn't give you speed.
Right.
He gives you height. He gives you good hands. He gives you inconsistent hands, actually, but he gives you good hands. He can make some wow catches, but he doesn't really give you speed. So they're looking for more speed to put out there. Did I mention Coy Moore in that list that I just rattled off? So that's 6, right? And they're talking about potentially rotating 8.
Omari.
So I don't know that Landon King is going to want to be in the position again where he's kind of buried in the depth chart.
Yeah.
You still have DeQuavius Sori, who's going to be coming in the fall, who is a speed guy. And I think that they're going to want to add another wide receiver from the portal. I think Landon King might be the odd man out in that wide receiver room. And, we've named 2 receivers so far, but I'm telling you that I personally don't know. I haven't been to a single practice. Right. I'm just looking at the returns of what I'm hearing about different positions in the wide receiver room. I don't know that Landon King's very high on that list right now.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think Landon King's in the unenvious position of being hey, just put me on the field. I think he's that dude, because every time he's been on the field, like, I want you to think about this. During his freshman season, he committed to Gus Malzahn in Chad Morris, OC head coach battery. He comes in, the offense is nothing like that. He works his way onto the field under Harsin, which was a big ask considering what the culture was like there. And he produces. Like, when he got on the field, he had a big catch in the Georgia State game. They ended up winning us, part of the drive that won us the game. He had a big catch in the Iron Bowl that got us to overtime, or in overtime, excuse me. Listen, that's when the lights are the biggest. When we were down and we needed a score so we don't lose to this group of 5 team and be the shame of the SEC that year, that was big. In the Iron Bowl, to keep us in that game, to keep that game competitive, that was big. I don't think his practice looks as impressive as his game tape. And I don't know how you remedy that. I don't know the disconnect. Like, Hugh Freeze can say, well, we're going to keep in mind what Robbie can do, because if we don't see everything in practice, then we know what he could do. Landon King has showed well in games, but those limited games. And then the 2022 season, almost nothing.
Yeah.
The passing game was terrible. He did have one incredible catch in the Penn State game. I think it was the first half before we were going to the half. Listen, when he gets on the field, put the ball in his area and he's making magnificent catches. But I don't know if his practice looks as impressive as his game tape. And when coaches are thinking about who to put out there, they're going to think, ooh, I'm going to go by what I see you doing every day. And you're going to practice 5 times more than you're going to play a game. I think that's going to keep him from getting opportunities. Maybe he gets some spot duty, decides it's enough, and stays with us. I don't know if like what you're saying. I don't know if he cracks the top 5 at wide receiver. And
Yeah,
I think that's
I don't personally see it because, you know, people are enamored by his height in a Hugh Freeze system. Hugh Freeze also values guys that are tall and can move.
right,
And Landon King's just not, he don't have that top end speed.
right,
And that's why he started at tight end, right?
right,
Because he wasn't expected to be that guy. And he's
right.
not going to get room in the tight end room, which will bring me to my next person here in just a minute. But I will let you volleyball that next word and get the next person out. But I don't know, man. Again, I could be completely wrong about all of these things, names I'm putting out
Yeah.
there.
We're just
But,
guessing. This
yeah.
is not intel. This is not
Yeah.
something we know anything. This is what have me and Mike seen going out to practice. And of course, we're going to talk amongst ourselves when we go to those practices. And also, what do we hear from these assistant coaches, man? They listen, if somebody jumps out, they'll mention it. And they have. And Landon King had been one of those names. So it leaves you wondering, all right, what are they talking to you about? What are you showing? And I'm telling you, from what I could see, when Heather Dinich said, hey, be patient with these wide receivers, based on the practice that she was at, I get why she said that. Camden Brown wasn't out there. He was out there. He just wasn't participating.
Mm-hmm.
Jay Fair wasn't participating. And the guys that were left, it looked a little rough. Now, the quarterback throws had something to do with that. It did. That was when Robbie had just come off the hurt shoulder weekend scrimmage. And yeah, it didn't look great. But we are going to be looking for some absolute difference makers. And in practice, Landon King doesn't look like that guy, which again, I think he is that guy in game. But him being able to channel that every day in practice, I think that would help Landon King's case a lot. Maybe he sticks it out, does something spectacular in the spring game, sticks it out, comes in the fall camp and says, all right, I'm going to be that dude every single day of practice. And I think he gets on the field if he does that.
And let me say this about Landon King. I think that he's probably one of the hardest working young men out there. He has the right attitude about everything. He has done everything coaches have asked him to do, from putting on weight and then dropping weight to try to be a receiver. He wants to see the field and he wants to do all of the things necessary. I just don't know that the space is there for him right now. And the question is he going to be patient another year to figure out whether or not this system is going to be optimal for him, because he's running out of eligibility? So the question for him is going to be about patience at this point in time. And, I'd love to see it come to fruition for him. One thing that's not hitting the transfer portal is Rogue Shop, though. You guys can head over to rogueshop.com and use code rapport to get a little something off of your purchase. Make sure that you guys transfer your funds over to the Rogue Shop and get you a little something great for yourself. America's #1 online dispensary is rogueshop.com. Again, use code rapport when you head over there. That lets them know that the War Report sent you. And we appreciate all of you supporting those that support us. Let's get back into our conversation, though, about names that could hit the transfer portal. We've gotten 2 names out so far, both of them from the wide receiver room.
Yeah.
B. Will, who is your next name for potential transfers after the spring?
Unfortunately, I think, we're going to lose somebody in the defensive backs group, whether safety or corner or both. Right now, I think we know DJ James is locked in. All right, he decided to come back. He was the best corner on the team. He was one of the best corners in the conference. He's not going anywhere. Kayan Lee has already gotten some shine, already started to show why he was such a big steal from Ohio State in the in this recruiting class. Pritchett is a senior guy over there at that corner spot. He's not going to go anywhere. He doesn't, you don't come back and say, hey, I'm in here. Even if you get jumped, you had to know that was a risk because Pritchett had some up and down play. I don't think there is room for an Austin Osbury, who was recruited to play corner, who we heard virtually nothing about all of 2022 season, and who I still haven't heard much about so far in 2022. Never knocked a guy who could not get in to the rotation under Harsin, especially if there were guys in front of you playing better. Even if Keontae Scott is not your permanent boundary corner, he's going to get on the field before an Austin Osbury, because he's a more experienced and a better player at this point in their careers. So I got Kayan Lee. I got Nehemiah Pritchard, who's going to get some snaps. Of course, I got DJ
Well, so
James.
Osbury, to be clear, is running at safety right now.
Right. And so that's where I'm getting to is we see why they moved him to safety, right? You've got talent ahead of you, or more impressive talent at this point. Safety is not any clearer.
Yeah.
Safety's just as jumbled up because if you're telling me who's back there, Simp and Donovan Kaufman, I'll say that, oh, cool, done. Leave those guys. That's my 1-2 at safety. Now, how do you work your way past them? Because we got Caleb Wooden.
Caden Bridges, who got burned last year.
Actually
Marquise
played
Gilbert,
well last year.
Who we just talked about.
Yeah. So who are you jumping? Because now you're not even playing your natural position anymore. Like Simpson was a natural transition to safety because he actually hit. Simpson hit like a safety at quarterback.
Yeah, he did.
His skill set suggested safety. He was at the wrong position. I think they corrected it by putting him at safety. So it's not like he's a fish out of water over there at safety. No, Simp looked good at safety.
Yeah.
So you're going to leave him there. I think between Kaufman and Bridges and Wooden, I think all of them have a head start on safety because, again, you're trying to adjust. What was it in his skill set that said, hey, this is not the best place for you, let's move you? Or was it, hey, you're not going to get any burn there, let's move you? What was it? Devin Barrett, they moved him to like defensive back and running back. They're like, you're not that good at this move. What was the reason for this move? Did he want to make this move? Did JJ Pegues want to make the move from tight end to defensive tackle when he was here? Or was it just like, we need you more over here. Why don't you jump over here? It doesn't look like they really have a firm place for him and he wants to be in that place. I think that disparity is going to probably be what puts him in the portal.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you. He was on my list as well. We have not disagreed on anybody so far of these names. We are up to 3 so far, and I think that we have been in agreement on all 3. And more so because, again, I think that there are more guys. I mean, Craig McDonald. We didn't talk about Craig McDonald. Like, it's just so many names in that safety room that have played snaps at this level. I don't know that Osbury is going to be able to get those snaps that he wants. Yeah. And he was a highly recruited player. So I think that it's possible that we could see him hit the transfer portal based upon all of those things.
Yeah. I think his brother committed to Notre Dame in the offseason. Maybe he wants to go, jumps, goes play with his brother. You know what I'm saying?
All right. So 2 offensive players, 1 defensive player. I don't even want to say this name because I've been looking forward to seeing him play so much. But I'm gonna put it out there. And I just talked about him a minute ago. Aniche Sledge. I think Aniche Sledge may hit the transfer portal after this spring. I think that he is a guy who, when we brought in a lot of those transfers along the line, he was looking like, yo, what's going on? Like, where are my reps going to go with all these guys coming in? We've already talked about how Justin Rogers is seeming to be a guy who's going to slide directly into that rotation. We already know what we have in Jason Jones and Marcus Harris. We already know what we have in Jeffrey Imba up there as far as his potential. Yeah. I think Imba's locked in. But I do think Aniche Sledge might be feeling a little like, I don't know if I have a home here right now. And I absolutely hate to say that because I think, let me clarify. Every name that I've named so far, I'm hating to have to say these names.
Yeah.
There's not a single one of those guys who I'm like, I don't know what we're missing in most of them because they haven't seen the field.
Right.
But I was very, very, very much looking forward to seeing him on the field. I'm not sure if I'll ever get that opportunity, but I do want to see it. I hope I'm completely wrong about this. Yeah. But I do think Aniche Sledge might test the waters in the transfer portal.
It makes sense for the young guys who are coming into the first year where they can have true eligibility and for them not to be seeing the field or automatically have guys in front of them. Because like you said, that defensive line looks crowded. Defensive line looks crowded. The jack position, not so much, but the defensive line certainly looks crowded. So I'm with you. I do not see too much playing time for him. Now, let's be clear about this. Football is dangerous. Guys get hurt. Many a player has found their way into a starting rotation due to injury in front of them and not let go of that starting position once they got it.
Right.
make it very hard for the coaches to sit you down once you get the opportunity to get on the field. And that's part of the game. You got somebody who's 2 years older, 2 playing years wiser, and they're at that position and they're doing what they're supposed to do. How are you going to jump them? Well, they got to get off the field somehow. Now, you don't want that to happen. As a team, we don't want that to happen, but that's why you have so many guys for quality depth. Because some of the defensive line we brought in that are true freshmen, what's the thing was Steven, I can't remember
Steven
his name.
Johnson, I think it's
Steven Johnson,
Mm-hmm.
Defensive line. We brought in at least 2 defensive linemen straight out of high school as well. Now, they're probably going to shelve those guys, get their bodies ready. But you got to wonder, like, if I'm not going to play this year because there are that many people in front of me, next year it's not looking too much better. Like, honestly, like, so the transfers, every transfer we brought in is older, so maybe those guys get out of here. But then there are 2 guys that you brought in this year, and you're going to bring in a couple more studs at the defensive line in the next cycle. So, yeah, I agree. I think it looks crowded for him, and I don't see the path to playing time unless we're just getting shredded in injury. Knock on wood. So that actually makes a lot of sense. And noticing this, because I said this before, I know everybody was so happy that when Harsin got fired, there were some recruits that were like, man, really? And he was one of the people that was definitely pro Harsin and his staff, probably because that's who recruited him. So
yeah, I mean, he was a big fan of Brumbaugh. Like, I remember I put something out on Instagram about Brumbaugh, and he liked the post because it was about how people loved him and how he really cared about the players in his room.
Right.
So listen, man, I don't want to see it, but and to the point, I think that he would be a quality piece to be able to rotate. I just don't know where his patience is right now with that entire process of waiting to see. What's crazy is, like, I think people forget you don't have to have 3 years worth of dominating stats to make it to the NFL. You really only need like 1 really good year and some flashes in spot duty the year before that. Right. So if Aniche Sledge comes in and he gets 15 rotational snaps per game this year, and then next year becomes that guy along the defensive line, he's draft eligible that year and he's going to the league. But he needs to be able to see that path to that. And that's incumbent on not Jason Garrett, Lord have mercy, on Garrett, the defensive line coach, to be able to sell him that vision of like, hey man, you're going to play in this rotation. Next year is your year, because listen, Justin Rogers isn't going to be there. Jason Jones likely not going to be there. Marcus Harris likely not going to be there. You're going to be a senior leader in that room if you stick it out this year and just come in and be that guy.
Right.
But he's got to have patience for that, because he wanted to play last year as a freshman. He absolutely wants to play right now as a redshirt freshman. Will he stick it out and say, hey, redshirt sophomore year, my year, I'm going to go crazy and take the league by storm and be prepped to go to the NFL? I don't know the answer to that.
Right. Agree.
All right. That is 4 down, 2 offense, 2 defense. 1 more. You have a 5th name for us, B. Will.
Man, I'm get a little spicy. A little spicy, man. We've all said it the entire spring. One of these quarterbacks ain't gonna be here.
I had a feeling this is where we were going. Okay.
Quarterbacks ain't gonna be here.
Which name are you throwing out there, my guy?
No matter whether healthy or not, Robbie Ashford is not going to leave, because his skill set is always going to leave you wondering what he can do. And because nobody else on this roster is going to have that skill set, he knows that he's got opportunity. Even if, let's say, hey, the shoulder's got to get repaired, I'm not going to be ready for the start of fall, but I'll be ready like September to come in and contribute. Cool. You were here for the spring. We got some tape on you. You're good.
Okay.
Holden Garner making a push since pro day, I think, puts a little more security. I think they it's crazy because I'm a parent, so I be thinking parent analogies. You know what I'm saying? So you put the kid in the car seat, right, and you tighten that thing up. I think he was in the car seat, but they ain't had a buckle on him. I think that pro day week, what he was able to do, I think the coach was like, yeah, why don't you stick around for a while? You stay up in here. You good. You ain't going nowhere. TJ Finley, I expected him. Well, I want to say I expected. He needed to be lights out to wrangle this job. And for everything that can come along with operation, I think his skill set is actually what's been inconsistent in the spring. And I'm going by the passes I've seen thrown in the spring. And now, again, we aren't looking at scrimmages in the spring.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to be passing to, for an example, players go out there, all three quarterbacks are ready. They're going to fake snap a ball and throw it to them. They're going to get the ball. There's at least 2 wide receivers and 1 tight end in a pattern. Each quarterback is going to throw to one of those people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't know how we're sailing passes on guys when the guys are running against nobody. And it's not that it didn't happen from everybody. It's that I thought TJ Finley's experience and his arm would be better at this point in his career than the other 2 guys there. Robbie being not as good of a passer as I think Holden Garner and TJ Finley, but TJ Finley can be just as sporadic. Doesn't have the upside of great wheels. So what are you doing? This, if you believed in your skill set, if you thought you had a chance, you had to wrangle this job these 4 weeks. All right. And inexperienced Robbie Ashford, he couldn't give you the push last year. Robbie Ashford with some skin in the game already, coming off of 2022, he can. I don't think Finley has outplayed Robbie Ashford. I don't know how well Holden Garrett has showed in these scrimmages. That's what I don't know. Or in the practice time that we don't get to see, where you're really throwing with another against a cornerback, with a cornerback out there guarding your guy.
Mm-hmm.
I think Finley, if you're going to put it in the hands of a 3rd-year guy, 4th-year guy, well, technically 4, because 2020 he played, 2021, 2022 he played 3 seasons with experience, small experience, but still experience. I don't know how you're going to put it in his hands unless he's far and away the best player. And I think our ceiling is probably the lowest with TJ Finley. These coaches apparently are going to be real with these players, man. But like, hey, I don't really see it for you. Why don't you go ahead and start scouting out some other opportunities? I think TJ Finley is going to go to the portal, whether it has to be after graduation because he has already used his one-time transfer thing.
Right.
But I think TJ Finley is going to be in the portal by the summertime.
Progress to degree update that I've heard from him. He will probably not be ready to graduate this spring. So he's going to need summer classes to get there. I don't even know. I don't disagree with anything that you just said. And I do think that the late push by Holden Garner makes this more of a possibility for TJ to be the guy. I would have, if you'd have asked me this question last week, I would have gone Holden as the guy who I thought was going to transfer out of that room most likely. Just because I think that TJ had started to put down some roots here in the Auburn area with him getting, engaged recently. And I think that he felt as if he could beat out Robbie for that spot. But yeah, I don't know, man. I feel as if the push by Holden might make this a little bit more likely for TJ to be the one to leave out of that room. And we'll see. We'll definitely see. All right. We want to take a couple of your live chat comments here before we get out of here. Been a great conversation thus far this morning. Make sure you guys answer those questions yourselves right down in the comment section. We'll look forward to reading those over the next couple of days as you guys are watching the video. Corey Weber jumps us off here, says, I just want to see no injuries. Anything else is gravy, in reference to what you want to see tomorrow for A-Day.
Good point.
C. Hall says, the rain happens during the season. Just think if the QBs and receivers have a great day. Absolutely spot on there. You have to play in the rain, so practicing in the rain should not be something that you try to avoid.
Yeah.
James Sawyer says, I just want to see how our linebackers look. We had a little conversation about linebacker in reference to Eugene Asante. So hopefully we will see some good linebacker play. I've heard some good things from Josh Aldridge in regards to how he feels about the linebacker room. Definitely heard some good things about a couple of guys in that room. Austin Keys and Demario Tolan have been good transfer products into that room. Hopefully we will be able to, and then you've got, of course, Cam Riley coming back to be, I think, a leader in that room. And then Robert Woodyard has had a good spring. So I think that room has become a lot more solid. And then Hugh Freeze even said himself that he feels like that room is better than what he thought initially it was going to be.
Yeah, for sure.
P-Pass jumps in and says, this is a good test. Can you play in bad weather? Some people can't get footing. Others excel.
It is. It's a good test because this is real world situation. You're going to have to play in rain at some point during the season. The only thing, regrettably, is that your best display, your best chance to show what you can do, because they want to give everybody snaps because it's, I imagine the scrimmages are pretty competitive, but This is, again, under the lights, in front of a lot of people. This is your closest. You're going to get to real game action before the season starts, because you're supposed to be doing things that you have just been learning. I think is that the best test for new skills under rough conditions? Probably not, but it's going to be the test that everybody gets, everybody on the roster. So it won't be unfair. So I think it's we won't be able to glean nearly as much from it as even
for sure.
Hugh Freeze said, "Hey, you're not gonna be able to tell too much. We're not gonna show too much." You add rain on top of that. Hopefully that we get some decent tape. I didn't even think about the film, man. We're gonna get an hour of film in rain. Man,
listen, the hour film is a lot though. Is depending on how many snaps they get in. So
the number of snaps, right? So okay, so it's probably going to be, instead of 65 to 75 snaps, it's probably going to be like 45 to 55 snaps. Something like
listen, man, give me 45 snaps. I can give you a lot of content out of that, bro. Just trust and believe. Canoe Man with the super chat. I should have started with this, but I apologize. Canoe Man says, please give a thumbs up. War Damn Rapport. We appreciate you jumping in with that super there. Yes, please go ahead and like the video. I'll just give you guys, because you can't see while you're in the video, what the live update of likes is looking like. We're at 62. Got a lot of likes left to go. For there will be 122 people in here watching right now. Come on, people. Go ahead and hit that like button. Haley jumps in and says a second injury potentially requires surgery, would possibly spell the end of his season. The rehab is brutal, and you can lose range of motion as well. Haley works in the hospital situation, medical field. So, I mean, I don't know if she's a nurse or, anything like that, but she definitely knows about the healthcare profession. So I'm gonna take her word for it. We're gonna get consultations from B Will's wife when it comes to medical stuff, because she does work at a hospital as well. So like whenever we have, how they have like a medical reporter that comes in for shows. Yeah, Danielle is going to be the War Report medical reporter. So what do you think about this injury? Is it going to have to require surgery? And she's gonna we're gonna pull up like X-rays and stuff, and we're gonna point to the thing. Danielle,
she ain't gonna know none of that stuff if it's not hard stuff. Hard. She was on the hard floor, man. She ain't gonna know none of that orthopedic stuff. But we'll get her to fake some.
Yeah, she could at least talk the lingo a little bit. Yeah, so it's just a menial tear of the patella, and I'm like. Yep. I don't even know if that's a thing, but that sounded real legit right there.
Patella tendon, I don't know what medial tear means, but
yeah. Dave Medlock says, I love the 60-minute running clock. Let's keep our new look offense/defense under wraps and drop it on them in the summer. I like how you said drop it on them in there. Appreciate that very much, Dave. We'll round it out with Matthew Cofield, who says, with how restrained Coach Freeze is planning to be in terms of showing his card, is there any reason to hyper-analyze A-Day? If so, what could we reasonably expect to learn? This is a great question to finish off on. B. Will, thoughts on this one?
I don't think we can expect to learn much of anything. I think if anything, what we can be looking at is, all right, here's the ball handler. Look at the linebacker. What was the angle that he took? Look at the safety coming up to make this. Well, Jarquez made a miss, but how did he do that? Because did he take a bad angle, or did Jarquez do something crazy, like do that little drunken master running he does and just get a miss?
That's actually a very apt description of his style of making people miss in the open field, is drunken master, because it's like fluid and it's very like awkward and unexpected, but it works, and you just I don't know how he did that, but he does.
Can't square him up. You can't square him up, and that's why he's so effective. So we'll be able to see in single play situations, how did this guy do based on the keys? So once the ball is snapped, here are the linemen here on both sides. Okay, so this is what the linebacker should have done. This is, oh, look, the offensive lineman gave it up right there. So that was on him. That was the result. That's why we got the quarterback repression that got blown dead. We'll be able to analyze player by player responsibilities and then execution. But very little as far as scheme and
how we're going to use particular people. Like now, what you see, here's the thing. This is why you need to be a member of the War Report. Let's go ahead and just say you need to be a member of the War Report, right? Because I am going to help you understand why it makes sense to watch things like this. You're going to be able to see all those things that B. Will talked about. Alignment, where guys are lining up, right? Like, that we're going to be running certain guys in the slot, certain guys as outside receivers. Those things are things that you can glean from this practice. You can look at formations and, hey, how often are we using two backs, one back, one tight end, two tight ends? Who's playing guard, who's playing tackle, who's playing center, right? How they're being utilized in those different things. There are a lot of things that you can glean from it, but you can only figure that out when you come on board with the War Report, man. You become a member and watch film with me, because we're going to break down all of those things. I promise you, we're going to go through it. It may seem like, man, I didn't really get to see much. You see a lot more. And this is why Coach Hugh Freeze is how he is about this stuff, because it's hard to not show certain things, right? Like, no, you're not going to get certain plays, but you are going to get formations. You are going to see where certain guys are lining up in different formations. You are going to see, we're going to be able to break down fundamentally how people are approaching tackling, how people are approaching blocking assignments, getting off of blocks, releases from the line of scrimmage from wide receivers, ability to jam and play in phase as a defensive back. You're going to be able to see all of those things from tape. Now, again, it's not going to tell you a lot of scheme stuff, but there's still plenty to be able to analyze, because that's the things that the coaches are going to be looking at to say, all right, where you were supposed to be when you got there, did you do the job you were supposed to do? Did you break that tackle, make that tackle? Did you make that block, get off that block? Did you make that throw, miss that throw? Did you make that catch, miss that catch? All of those things. Did you understand the check at the line of scrimmage? Did you break the route down when you were supposed to? Those things are going to be able to be gleaned from the tape, and we will definitely look into all of those things after we get done with A-Day.
For sure.
So we appreciate you guys jumping in with us. As always, we are sponsored by the Rogue Shop. We are going to make sure that you get your weight up at the Rogue Shop as well. RogueShop.com, using code RAPPORT. And you guys make sure that lets them know that the War Report sent you. America's #1 online dispensary is the Rogue Shop. An hour-long morning drop on a Friday preceding A-Day. So that ought to let you know we are coming in guns blazing to end the spring, baby. We will be back at you all tomorrow morning as we get into our 10:30 pregame. Remember, tomorrow morning's live is at 10:30 pregame, breaking down our final thoughts again, I guess, on A-Day, but just day of thoughts on the A-Day. You'll get more from C-Dub and Mike G on their final thoughts tomorrow. So make sure you're tuned in tomorrow morning live, 10:30, before A-Day game is kicking off there. And then we'll be back post-game with our reaction to that. So you guys want to make sure you are locked in with that as well. We are out of here. We appreciate you guys stopping in with us this morning. As always, War Eagle, we'll holler at you later. Peace.
Peace.